There is an ongoing argument in this very country about how best to close the enormous deficit that we have incurred. The Republicans have proposed doing it entirely through spending cuts, whereas the Democrats have bravely fought back, insisting we do it almost entirely through spending cuts. Well, this week, bizarrely uneccentric billionaire Warren Buffett entered the fray.
The billionaire says, while most Americans struggle to make ends meet, we mega-rich continue to get our extraordinary tax breaks. My friends and I have been coddled long enough.
I pay a lower tax rate on much of my income than my cleaning lady does.
Well, to be fair, Warren Buffett's cleaning lady is also a billionaire. Warren Buffett's op-ed was a thoughtful treatise on the advantages the super wealthy currently enjoy at the hands of the tax code. Or, to put that another way.
Up next tonight, Warren Buffett, class warfare.
More class warfare from an affable billionaire who should stop assuming the rich are all billionaires.
Warren Buffett wrote an op-ed. Is he completely a socialist?
Is Warren Buffett a socialist? You really have no clue what socialism is, do you? Hey, that George Clooney always banging different broads. What a queer. So closing a few corporate tax loopholes and returning the top marginal tax rate to the 90s economic boom time levels is class warfare. And if there's one thing the rich have learned, it's that class warfare is hell.
He invoked the corporate jet class. So that's a whole new category of people to demonize, right?
Soak the rich, it's their fault.
Barack Obama's tax on these evil, disgusting corporate jet owners.
Demonizing the rich as evil, as lazy, as inheritors of their wealth.
He's saying they're fat cats.
It's disappointing. It's class warfare, and it's the kind of language that you would expect from a leader of a third world country, not the President of the United States.
It's true, because the United States of America is not a third world country by any measure, except perhaps income inequality, where we rank worse than the Ivory Coast, worse than Cameroon, 64th! In your face! Uruguay, Jamaica, and Uganda? Uganda? Yeah. Uganda. Yeah. Keep trying, Rwanda. Wow. And by the way, not only is closing corporate loopholes, you are a nerd crowd. There's no doubt in my mind. By the way, not only is closing corporate loopholes and raising the marginal tax rate class warfare, it totally wouldn't even work.
You can tax rich people all you want, and you're not going to solve our problem.
The idea that if we raise taxes, as the president said, on millionaires and billionaires, raise taxes on oil companies, raise taxes on owners of private jets, that somehow is going to make a difference.
The president wants to raise the top two income tax rates, which would raise about $700 billion over 10 years. You know what? That's only a tiny fraction of the federal government's deficit.
$700 billion over 10 years. That's less money than Warren Buffett's cleaning lady pulls out of his shower drain every week. No, don't. So, Joe Miller. So $700 billion of raised revenue over 10 years ain't even worth the effort. I assume these folks have the same why bother attitude towards low-level spending cuts.
National Endowment for the Arts, National Endowment for the Humanities, all those kind of frivolous things, those should all be on the chopping block.
Federal employees don't pay for parking, so if they just set up a parking for that, that'd get them $140 million.
He doesn't have to waste your tax dollars and travel around in a $1.1 million luxury liner.
Why are we spending $6 million? Why are we spending $1 million on the First Lady?
You got to start somewhere. Even when we talk about NPR, $1 million here, that's $1 million.
Oh, so when you cut it, it's $1 million. But when you tax it, it's $700 million. I mean, all we'd have to do to raise $700 billion is cut 700,000 NPRs. It's almost too easy. But if it's revenue you want, there does happen to be another place, instead of the rich, that you can look for it.
Warren Buffett writing how the rich should pay more taxes, but saying not a word about the half of American households that pay no income taxes at all.
Is that fair when half the population pays absolutely nothing?
51%, that's a majority of American households, paid no income tax in 2009. Zero. Zip. Nada.
Many of them get so much money in tax credits that it wipes out any Social Security taxes or Medicare taxes they're paying. They are absolutely on a free ride.
You hear that, pores? The free ride está over. So it looks like you'll be walking to work, assuming you have a job. Chances are you probably don't have a job. So why are you asking us for a ride? So, the solution to our economic problem, isn't taxing the rich. It's
broaden the tax base.
Everyone needs to pay something.
Before you start demanding one group pay more, maybe get everyone to put skin in the game.
That's the problem with poor people. They still have some of their skin. But you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe Fox is right. Maybe the bottom 50% of Americans, while they already pay excise and payroll and Medicare taxes, do need to pay more. I mean, they can spare it. After all, they control 2.5% of our nation's wealth. Oh, you know what? Actually, this is a pretty easy calculation. We could do this. The bottom 50% is just simple math. In dollar figures, the bottom 50% of this country have $1.45 trillion in everything they own on this earth. So let's see, they have $1.45 trillion. So what do you say we take, I don't know, half of that? That'd be, oh, look at this, $700 billion. Why does that figure sound so familiar to me?
The president wants to raise the top two income tax rates, which would raise about $700 billion over 10 years. You know what? That's only a tiny fraction of the federal government's deficit.
So raising the income tax rate on the top 2% of earners would raise $700 billion, but taking half of everything the bottom 50% have in this country would do the same. I see the problem here. We need to take all of what the bottom 50% have. All of it. It's the only way to make a significant dent. Now we're up to $1.4 trillion. And if you're worried about the poors, don't. Because they're defined by the census as a family of four making less than $22,350 a year. Four. $22,350 a year. They'll be fine.
Poor families in the United States are not what they used to be.
When you look at the actual living conditions of the 43 million people that the census says are poor, you see that, in fact, they have all these modern conveniences.
99% of them have a refrigerator.
99% have refrigerators. You food-chilling mother. How dare you? That's why it makes complete sense. That's why it makes complete sense that the word poor in that graphic is in quotations. These people aren't poor, they're... I'm sure the other 1% of those people who don't have refrigerators don't have them, not because they don't have food, because they're always ordering room service. These poor people are living like they just won a showcase showdown.
81% have a microwave. 78% have air conditioning. 63% have cable TV. 54% have cell phones. 48% have a coffee maker. 25% have a dishwasher.
25% of a dishwasher? Although, to be fair, after a 12-hour shift of washing dishes, the last thing you want is to bring your work home with you. So you see, the problem with increasing the marginal tax rate on the rich and closing some corporate tax loopholes isn't that it engages in class warfare. It's that it's fighting on the wrong side of the war.
It is all-out war on the productive class in our society for the benefit of the moocher class.
The makers and the takers.
They want to take it from somebody else.
Everyone's jumping in the wagon. No one wants to pull.
Parasites we have out there dependent on government.
The raccoons. They're not stupid. They're going to do the easy way if we make it easy for them, just like welfare recipients all across America.
Welfare will create generations of utterly irresponsible animals.
Yeah. Those people. The poor.